What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mark's Stock Review. Hope you're all doing well today. Today's video is going to be on Ocugen. I'm going to first go over my recent trades and then a very brief overview of the company. I'll talk about their pipeline and then, of course, Covaxin and any news related to it. And then finally, whether it's a good time to buy. I'm going to keep this video as brief as possible without fillers to respect your time. So if you do find it helpful, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. That said, let's get right into it. Full disclosure, I do not currently own Ocugen at the time of this recording. My last trade includes initiating a new position in NGA. It's the SPAC associated with Lion Electric at a cost basis of $30.64. Ocugen is a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company. It's a very small company with only about 16 employees. They're located in Pennsylvania, actually only about 15 minutes from where I live. Their focus is on discovery, development, and commercialization to therapies to treat rare and underserved eye diseases that cause blindness. And the share price has been exploding since December after news that the company is working alongside Bharat Biotech to bring a coronavirus vaccine to the US. I'll be talking a little bit more about that momentarily. But first, I want to discuss their existing pipeline because that's going to be very important for long-term investors. OCU400 is a gene therapy candidate for restoring retinal integrity and function across a wide range of genetically diverse inherited retinal diseases. It uses a potent modifier gene within the retina which may help stabilize cells and rescue photoreceptor degeneration. And as you can see here, it's the closest to phase 1 and 2 clinical trials. OCU410 is a modifier gene therapy candidate for age-related macular degeneration. That affects about 9 to 10 million patients in the United States. And currently, no approval for the disease. And finally, their OCU200 is a biologic product candidate in preclinical development for treating diabetic macular edema and diabetic retinopathy. These diseases affect millions of patients in the United States, and currently there's very limited treatment options. And so the reason I very briefly went over the pipeline is to illustrate that they also have early pipeline assets in development in addition to potentially bringing the COVID vaccine to the United States. All right, let's get into Covaxin a little bit more. India's drug regulator approved Covaxin, which is a coronavirus vaccine, for emergency use despite not yet clearing the final stage trials. It was developed by Bharat Biotech. And there's a letter of intent between Bharat Biotech and Ocugen for Ocugen to get the U.S. rights to the vaccine, to be responsible for the clinical development, registration, and commercialization for the U.S. market. Financial terms, not yet available. Potential benefits include being non-invasive as a nasal spray, single dose, and easier to administer. Demand is still unclear depending on the last trials and safety data, which should come out shortly. Next, I'm going to highlight some key points from the January 20th Ocugen presentation performed by their CEO. Their CEO first talked about their existing pipeline. I'm not going to read the highlights word for word, but it's laid out below in case you want to pause the video or take a snapshot. And moving on to Covaxin, phase 1 and 2 have been completed with over 1,000 subjects per the CEO, and currently phase 3 enrollment process has been completed, and the trials are ongoing with 26,000 patients. Their CEO then went on to say that a scientific board has been appointed for Covaxin and that their main goal is to bring it to the United States. Next, I'm going to lay out some of the information that I got from the questions and answers, which I found very helpful. Number 1, Ocugen's going to be announcing more details of their agreement with Bharat Biotech shortly. Number 2, do they have to conduct additional trials in the United States? Per their CEO, it's unclear. Number 3, regarding efficacy data for Covaxin should be coming out in the next few weeks. Number 4, what about the efficacy as compared to the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines? Answer per their CEO, no data yet. And number 5, do you still need Covaxin if you've already had a vaccine from another drug company? Answer per their CEO, still being evaluated. And so the final part of this video is whether this is a good time to buy after the recent share price run-up. The first thing that I want to say is that the value of Ocugen is going to be based on potential revenue based on 2 fronts, their existing pipeline and Covaxin. And from my point of view, we're not going to get any potential catalysts from their existing pipeline anytime soon, so it's all going to rely on Covaxin. And so with Covaxin, we're looking at 2 near-term potential catalysts. Number 1, the results of the final clinical trial. Number 2, the release of Covaxin safety data. And one thing's for certain, the share price will not stay at current levels. It's either going to skyrocket after the catalyst or return to prior levels. And so bottom line for me, it is a buy for those willing to risk substantial losses for potential monstrous gains. And that does it for my video on Ocugen. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notifications. I greatly appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll be talking to you soon. Take care.